Okay, so right now I am measuring the inside of the frame so that way I can make sure that the piece of acid-free foam is going to correctly fit inside the frame. I use acid-free foam board so it doesn't cause any discoloration of the fabric or deterioration of the fabric, because if you're not careful with what you're framing with, it can cause discoloration, and it can actually cause your fabric to break down quicker and cause it to fall apart essentially. And with how much work we put into these things, I think it's important that we make sure that this stuff lasts for however long we feel like it, because I don't use museum glass for mine. I just use plexiglass because it's a cheaper option. Right now I am just using a utility knife and cutting through the foam core, and those extra pieces on the side are going to be I'm going to use those as spacers, because they're this is Raven Queen and it's a memorabilia and it has beads on it, so I need to make sure that there's space for those to sit, and you don't want your pieces up against the glass. And I don't use mats. I don't think I've ever used a mat. So I just cut those pieces out at the same time because it's already all measured out. And I believe I cut those at a 1/4 inch, if I remember correctly. And right now I'm double checking that it is going to fit into the frame, so that way, I don't get the fabric all pinned on and laced and then go to slide it into the frame and it not fit. Obviously, I needed to take off a smidgen so that way it would fit into the frame. And that is what I'm doing here. Double checking, make sure it fits. It fits perfectly. So then I move on to getting the fabric out. This is already ironed and stuff, so it's ready to go and be pinned. I use stainless steel pins. I'm trying to remember where I got them, but they're not real expensive, and they work pretty good. Excuse me. Right now I'm working on centering it up onto the fabric. And this is also when I realized that, whoops, when I ordered this frame, I accidentally ordered it, I believe it's an entire inch too short. But I pin the middle of all sides first. It's actually what I do if I am stretching a canvas for whenever I'm painting. It's the thing I will do is placing a pin in the middle on all sides, on opposite sides, so that way, when I stretch it or anything, it will, sort of equally go out. Right now I'm using, red fishing line to make a line, so that way I know for sure that the one side are straight, because this has a border there that you need to make sure is straight. So I'm just making sure I've got it exactly where I want it to be placed, tying a knot, because it kept slipping out and it was irritating me. So it wouldn't come out of the end of my needle. This takes a little while, and I am fast forwarding this some. Okay, made it to the end of doing that. And now just double checking and making sure that it's all where I want it to be. And placing the top pin in the middle. Now you see that I don't push them the whole way in, and it's just so that way if I need to adjust at some point in time, that I can easily pull them out and not have to really dig to get them out. Placing all the middle pins in, making sure I got them where I want them. And this is me. I'm slowly going from one side to the other, pulling it just slightly and placing in the pins. And this process takes a little while because this is where it's important that you have everything lined up and just the way you want it. Normally, all of the piece would stay on the front. I think I end up adjusting this later so that way all of it does stay on the front, but it's just not, it's not as tight as I would have wanted it to be, but it's what I had to do to make sure that everything would fit inside the frame. Whenever I measured this, I believe I was on the way to my mother's house that we bought for her and are fixing up. And I was in a hurry and needed to quickly measure and order the frame and get the heck out of my house and go to the other house to continue working on it. And when I ordered, I forgot to add the extra inch that I needed. Thankfully, the sides I mismeasured a little bit, so they fit, but the top and bottom, they don't. I had a bead there that decided it was going to poke up through somehow, so I was fixing that. And pinning takes a while because this is the process that you want to make sure that is done as accurately as possible. And for me, I'm okay if it's not 100% perfect, as long as it's as close to center as possible and I don't have any ripples or wrinkles on the front. That is the part that is most important to me. And again, you see that I'm not pushing those pins all the way in. I'm just putting them in enough that it holds everything where I want it to be, and then work from there. And this is where I was going to put another red line on the opposite side. Placing all the pins on the last side here. And at some point in time, I think here shortly, I ran out of time and had to go work on the other house. And I believe this is 3/16 foam core, if I remember right, acid-free foam core. And me realizing that some of it's pulled a little too tight and it's skewing the lines. This is me, like, I'm not even kidding you, probably a week later that I finally had some more time to finish up. And this is after I had my shower and trying to get everything done. So it took a while to get this project framed and ready. In fact, I still don't have the plexiglass to go into it because I haven't not had the time to run up to Lowe's and get the plexiglass. Now all the pins are placed, and I'm going to, anywhere I feel like there needs to be an extra pin, I will place another pin. And then I'm also relaxing it in some places and pulling it in others, so that way the line for the edge is actually straight and not crooked. And by releasing just one pin at a time, I can really control whether or not I'm pulling it or releasing it so it lays straight. So anywhere that it might have been either A, pulled too tight, or not pulled enough, I'm just pulling those pins out and resetting them so that way it lays in the straight line that it's supposed to, and not look like a squiggly line instead. And then this is me shoring up the edges. I put, or the corners, I like to make sure that I put 2 pins on each side of the corner pretty closely together, so that way it's a little more stiff. Now I am pushing all the pins in because I feel like everything's in a good spot, so I'm just using my table there, pushing them all in. And I forgot something. I use fishing line to lace the backs. You don't have to lace the backs. You could use an acid-free tape and just tape the edges. I prefer lacing it because I feel like I get less bulk that way, and I have a little more control of the way it lays. And I don't have to worry about any sort of residue being on the fabric or anything. I can just quickly get it done. I am pulling that thread as close to the end, and then I am tying a knot without pulling it completely closed yet, leaving just a loop at the end. And then I will take my needle and go up through the loop and then close the knot on to the line, so that way I just feel like that's more secure. That's just how I knot it on the back with this stuff. And then starts the lacing process. And the very edges, I go closer together, and then as I work through the middle of it, they will get farther apart. And then as I get back to the other end, I will make them closer together again, just to hold it all where it needs to be. And I will do both sides of this. So yeah, it took me quite a few days. I want to say it was probably about 2 weeks to fully get this project framed. And like I said, I still have to get the plexiglass in yet. Right now it's actually being kept in it's a pillowcase essentially to hold it until I can get the plexiglass in, because I don't want dust and stuff to get on it. And right now that's just the way it's going. And when I have the time, I will get up there and do that. Again, this is for my best friend. Her birthday, she had asked me, she'd given me a couple different options of ones she liked. And it just so happened that I found Raven Queen on sale and chose it. And it was one of the ones that she had wanted me to make. And her birthday isn't until October. So I have quite a while to go before, a little over, her birthday's the end of October, so 2 months, not quite a full 2 months, but almost, before I need to give this to her. So I'm not too concerned about not getting it done. Again, everything's finished. It's ready. I just have to get the plexiglass, but I keep it, like I said, in the pillowcase so that way I don't have to worry about dust collecting on it or anything. And then once I actually will get the plexiglass in, I will take acid-free, it's acid-free paper, and I will stick a few pieces of acid-free double-sided tape on the back of that frame to completely enclose it in, so that way it's not able to get dust all over it, and it's all protected inside of the frame. For me personally, I don't really care how long mine lasts, but I want them to last more than, let's say, 20 or so years. So I make sure that I use the acid-free foam core and acid-free paper and acid-free any sort of tape or anything like that, because, like I said, I have my great-grandmother cross-stitched, and her pieces are completely ruined. It's actually, like, a lot of the fabric is tore up. There's really no saving them at this point. They are kept in a box at my aunt's house, and they are just kind of kept put away because nobody wants to expose it anymore, because, like I said, the fabric is deteriorating, because she she was born in 1917, and she probably made these well, she would have married Granddad when she was probably about 16 years old. So somewhere, anywhere from her early teens to trying to think of when she stopped cross-stitching, but it was, I'm not sure when, but they are severely ruined from being placed on cardboard. Back then, you used what you had, and that was that, and not many places did they have access to acid-free stuff to make it so that way their things could last long. I mean, they weren't planning on it lasting forever or being a legacy piece or anything like that. Their plan was, this will look nice in my home for a little bit. But some of the fabric is so bad that a lot of the stitches and stuff are falling out of it, and it's severely discolored to the point where some of it you can't even tell what colors they used to be because of it. So I would really recommend making sure that you use acid-free stuff so it doesn't get ruined. And again, this is, around about 100 years old, some of this stuff. Some of it's under 100 years old, and it was severely ruined. For me personally, I want it to last for, 20, 30, 40, the stuff I use will probably actually make it last for longer than that, but, I don't really care, and that's up to you on how long you want these things to last. So, just be careful on the materials you use, and make sure that whenever you do, that you look it up, or like for my paintings and things like that, everything I use is high quality, archival things, so I can make sure that if at any point in time it would need restoration done to it, or varnish gets yellowed or anything like that, that it can be all removed and not be ruined by somebody, by cheaper materials. So this is kind of what I'm doing here, that if for some reason anything would need to be pulled apart here. It could be pulled apart at any point in time, and maybe there'll be even better materials in a couple hundred years, 20, 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, they're always coming out with better, newer and better things. So that way, I mean, if that happens, then it's easily constructed that it can be pulled apart and redone if need be. This lacing part, though, it takes forever, but I feel like I get the fabric, like the bulk of the fabric on the back, because I don't want to cut any of that off, because I never know if in the future somebody might want to stretch that out more. I mean, my friend could see the frame and be like, you know what, that's not really my style. I don't think so. I'm pretty good at judging that kind of stuff, but this is similar to the things I've seen in her home. So, I tried to pick it out, as best as I can, but it's always possible that maybe she wants a more gothic frame onto it, because it is sort of a gothic piece, and she has the ability to go out and buy a new frame, and I can always, pull all the, cut all those strings right off, and it'll all come off really easily, and the pins will come out, and we can recut stuff and get it done. But I feel like this is, with all the extra bulk of this fabric and stuff, I just feel like lacing it on the back makes it, it gets me the cleanest corners, and I'm able to force the fabric a little tighter, so it, stretches some and reduces some of that bulk on the back, so it's not such a pain in the butt later whenever you go and place it into the frames or anything like that. that's finished there, tie that off, cut it off, there we go. And then I'm just double checking to make sure it's the way I want it to be. Opening up the edge of the frame so I can slide the piece in. Some of those corners my husband quote unquote helped me put the frame together, and he really made sure they were screwed on so then I couldn't get them apart. Double checking and making sure I put it in the right way. Get it sat down in. Placing some of these spacers in. I mean, if you really wanted, you could change, use different colored foam cores so that way you can change the color, so that way it blends more with the frame. I don't ever notice it, so I don't really care if it's there. Screwing everything back together. Checking it out. And she's done. She is framed, other than plexiglass.